Alright, Python programmers, today on Python lesson number 10, I'm going to show you the for loop versus the while loop. So I've already done a video on for loops, and for loops are, they're pretty straightforward. Here, I'll show you one in a second. There's one right here. Don't mind the Best Buy ad. So it's inside of a function that I've created for my Python class in school, and there's a for loop inside it. And what a for loop does is it just every time there is something in an array, it'll loop through it no matter what, just as long as there's something inside of the array. Now the while loop, that's a little different. Here's a while loop. Uh, there it is. Here's a while loop. A while loop is sort of like a for loop, but it only iterates when a certain condition is met. So in this case, well, I, which is set to 0, is less than 3. So that means that every time I is equal less than 3, then this loop will run. Otherwise, it will not. Once I equals 4, it will not run. Now, and then another thing with the while loop is that you have to be careful to not create an infinite loop, and the infinite loop can be averted by doing this: I plus equals 1. This will make sure that when it increments, it doesn't just keep on incrementing without stopping. So I'll run it and show you what you get. What's this? Come on. Okay, I guess we're not gonna run it then. But yeah, when it runs, it'll print, strike 1 because I is equal to 1. Then when it loops again, I is equal to 2, and then if I is equal to 3, then it'll print strike 3, you're out. Very simple. Now, lastly, the last thing I want to show you is is a is remember that code I showed you at the beginning, this right here. This is the same code with a while loop. Now this application is kind of funky. You don't have to pass in anything. It kind of passes everything in for you, so it's right. Now, here's the main difference, as you can see. Here you have your for loop, and so for the for loop, so you can just grab the array. So for number in numbers in here, if the number is mod 2, if it does not have a remainder, then you add it to the even numbers list, which will count all the even numbers. That's pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to use a while loop with an array, you got to go kind of in a roundabout way. Because not only do you have to deal with iterating through the array, you have to make sure it iterates through a certain amount of times while it increments. And you also have to deal with the infinite loop problem. So for while I is less than length, which is up here, so the length is obviously the length of the numbers list, which can be all of these. So that's creating the number, right? That makes it a little harder. Then you have I, which is set equal to 0. So while 0 is less than 4 or 5, then then we loop. If when 0 is equal to 1, then we loop, and until then, it just keeps looping. And um, and then lastly, we have to deal with that infinite loop problem right here. And we return, and that's it. So yeah, hopefully that clarified to you the difference between the for loop and the while loop. For loop, more straightforward, iterates no matter what. While loop only iterates when a certain condition is met. I'll link these in my blog. Probably be more helpful in my video anyway. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.